Ren activated his ability to run extremely fast to find them. He rushed through the forest at an incredible speed and finally found a member of the group, Turner, surrounded by a pack of wolves. He immediately shouted out her name. Although frightened, Turner got into a fighting stance with a large log, ready to face the ferocious beasts. When a wolf charged at Turner from behind, the boy could only turn his head back in horror. His friend, realizing it was too far to intervene in time, silently blamed himself for calling out Turner's name, causing her to lose her vigilance. In that moment of danger, everyone was tense, and Turner was still unaware of the impending threat behind her. The boy sat calmly under a tree, focusing on practicing his skills. A mosquito flew in, and in an instant he swatted it with his hand. This was not just a normal reflex. It was the result of magic that enhanced his senses, improving his reaction and dynamic vision. The scene revealed thorough preparation for something bigger that was coming. The boy began experimenting with physical enhancement magic by using his strength to lift a heavy rock. As he observed the result, he thought about the potential of this type of magic. With a serious expression, he told himself that he needed to test how far he could push his limits in using enhancement magic. The boy stretched out his hand in despair as he saw his friend Turner being attacked by a wolf, his heart filled with anxiety due to the distance between them. But at that moment, he felt the magic within him was still active. Relieved, he clutched his chest, silently thanking that the magic was still working, a slim chance to save his friend. The boy was taken aback as he clearly felt the surge of power rising from within. His heart pounding, he placed his hand on his chest, his eyes lighting up with excitement, exclaiming that this power was too great, to the point of being like cheating. A feeling of being overwhelmed, but also exhilarated, spread throughout his body. As the monstrous beast charged forward with a ferocious look, the boy was not intimidated, using the newly awakened power to deliver a fatal blow. In that suspended moment, the strike shattered the space, causing the monster to break into pieces. He knelt down, breathing heavily in the darkness, feeling the terrifying aftermath of the power that had just been unleashed. In a life-or-death moment, the boy rushed forward like a gust of wind, his eyes shining with determination. His arms swung strongly, preparing to deliver a fatal punch to the back of the giant wolf that was charging towards Turner with its mouth wide open. The tension escalated, with just a few moments left to decide their fate. Turner, after a life-or-death battle with the wolves, sat dazed in the forest with a broken stick covered in blood. She closed her eyes, trying to suppress her fear, but when she opened them again, a strange, dark figure silently reached out towards her from behind. A new threat was emerging stealthily. Ren landed right in front of Turner, a defeated wolf lying motionless beside them. Both of them were breathing heavily in the tense atmosphere that lingered after the battle. Turner trembled as she called out his name, her eyes seemingly unable to believe that her companion had appeared just in time to save her life. Ren breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Turner was still safe, her face dirty but her eyes full of gentleness. He reassured the little girl that everything was okay, while realizing the cost of his enhanced strength. The magic had consumed too much energy. Despite being exhausted, Ren still tried to keep his spirits up to protect his friend. Although exhausted, Ren turned back to face the remaining pack of wolves with a determined gaze. He clenched his fist, summoning magical power in the palm of his hand, vowing to end the ordeal quickly. The pack growled angrily, but Ren was undaunted, wondering to himself if he was ready to kill just because his friend was injured. Ren summoned magical energy in the palm of his hand, his eyes fixed with determination and resolve. He had no intention of prolonging the battle, the pack growled menacingly, but Ren was ready to deliver the finishing blow, driven by his determination to end the danger as quickly as possible. Turner clutched a log tightly as the wind swirled when Ren launched an attack. From his hand, a tremendous force burst forth, blowing two wolves backward in an instant. The tense atmosphere was instantly shattered by the pressure of the powerful magic. Ren swung his arm, unleashing a massive swirling energy that created a maelstrom of magical power that swept away the entire pack of wolves. The overwhelming force left the enemy unable to react, their bodies sucked into the vortex and thrown far away. Bathed in the brilliant magical light, Ren stood firm like a newly awakened war god. The whirlwind created by Ren continued to sweep across the battlefield, sweeping away everything in its path. The giant pack of wolves was sucked into the heart of the vortex, spinning wildly in chaos and helplessly screaming. The power of the attack not only terrified the enemy, but also left a deep impression on the battlefield. The massive whirlwind created by Ren erupted violently, lifting trees, rocks, and wolf carcasses into the air. The terrifying power of the attack caused the surrounding space to shake, highlighting the vast difference between humans and monsters in this battle. This was the first time Ren had used true wind magic, and he was surprised that the power had exceeded his control. Standing in the midst of the giant whirlwind he had created, the boy felt both dizzy and frightened by the terrible consequences of his magic. The whirlwind had swept away everything, leaving a desolate landscape, and in the eye of the storm, only Ren and Turner stood frozen in the terrifying scene. As the whirlwind dissipated, blood from the pack of beasts fell like red rain, covering the entire forest. Ren and Turner stood silently under the blood rain, their eyes heavy with unspoken emotions. Although the battle was over, they didn't feel relieved. Turner quietly grasped Ren's hand, and he whispered, "We should leave here immediately." Their first battle, though victorious, left a chilling aftermath in both their hearts. Leaving the battlefield, Turner was still shaken, traumatized by the terrifying power Ren had just unleashed. He kept questioning and blaming himself, speaking incoherently, as if trying to reassure himself. Ren silently took Turner's hand, leading him through the silent forest. Although no one outside had noticed what happened, the storm inside both of them had not subsided. After the battle ended, Turner was still unable to calm down. He frantically asked repeated questions about the terrifying power Ren had just used. Ren was lost in a jumble of chaotic thoughts, continuously questioning and denying himself, as if trying to reject his own identity. Fortunately, Charnos and the others seemed not to have noticed, because they were too far away. The atmosphere between the two was tense and chaotic, signaling that the aftermath of the storm was far from over. Ren was frantic, repeatedly questioning Turner about the whereabouts of the others in their group and why Turner was here. He didn't let Turner answer, making the atmosphere tense and chaotic. Turner, with an expressionless face and his arms still wrapped tightly around a log, finally took decisive action. He hit Ren's forehead with the log to snap him out of it. Although it hurt, Ren was forced to calm down after that wake-up call delivered with cold indifference. Turner surprised everyone by chasing after the troublemakers who were fleeing the village alone. He pretended to be a wolf, spreading fear to force them to return. While Ren was still bewildered by what had just happened, Turner quietly sat by the stream, not boasting at all. The girl beside him observed him, secretly acknowledging that his action was a significant achievement, even though Turner didn't show any pride. Ren questioned Turner about why he had followed the group of kids leaving the village without telling the adults, but Turner just replied that it was coincidental. Ren emotionally admitted that the whole group had narrowly escaped death, and if anything had happened to just one person, he wouldn't have been able to forgive himself. Overcome with emotion, Ren clenched his fist tightly, showing deep remorse and genuine concern for his friends. Turner burst into tears, his tears streaming down as he sincerely apologized for putting the whole group in danger. The pent-up emotions made him cry, while the other kids were confused but also relieved. Ren quickly changed the atmosphere by reminding everyone to wash off the blood, and another boy cheerfully exclaimed that the most important thing was that everyone was safe. The atmosphere became warm and relieved after the life-or-death battle. After the battle, Ren was worried because Turner's clothes were stained with blood, insisting on washing them to avoid worrying the adults when they came to pick them up. Turner was hesitant and refused, but Ren was adamant, prompting Turner to teasingly ask back, "Ren, do you want to see me undress?" The question caught Ren off guard, but he quickly changed the subject, suggesting a special fruit that could clean the clothes without having to take them off. The atmosphere between the two gradually became lighter and warmer after the ordeal. Ren insisted that Turner take off his shirt to wash it, thinking that there was no need to be shy between two boys. However, when Turner used the pronoun min in an unusual way, Ren began to suspect something. The suspicion quickly turned into shock when he realized that Turner might not be a boy. Turner immediately ran away from Ren in panic, leaving Ren standing there, stunned and dazed by the newly discovered truth. Turner timidly hid behind a tree, his face red with worry, and finally confessed, "I'm a girl." The statement made the atmosphere fall silent for a moment. Ren was stunned, his eyes frozen, and his brain almost froze as he tried to process the newly revealed truth. The call, T. Turner-chan, that came out of his mouth was like a reflex, signaling an unexpected turning point in the relationship between the two. The news that Turner was a girl spread like a thunderclap on a clear day. A boy who overheard the news from afar immediately shouted out in panic, "Hey, is Turner a girl?" The question echoed throughout the mountains and forests, creating a chain reaction of "Is SHE a girl? Is SHE a girl? Is SHE a girl?" As if nature itself was also surprised. The humorous scene ended the tense moment with a touch of wit, suggesting a change in the way people viewed Turner. The village elders are facing the main characters. Ren stands in front, looking confident and happy, explaining something with a gesture towards himself. Beside him, Turner is silent, holding onto Ren's sleeve as if for reassurance. Meanwhile, the elders' faces are serious and skeptical, with some furrowing their brows and others avoiding eye contact. The atmosphere is tense, mixed with anticipation for an explanation. This moment seems to mark a change in the relationship between the children and the adults after the previous event. The elders and villagers have arrived at the scene of the battle. Expressions of shock and seriousness are evident on their faces as they take in the aftermath. A devastated landscape, monster corpses scattered around, and deep gashes in the ground from the whirlwind. The leader says sternly, "This is," as if unable to believe their eyes. The scene clearly demonstrates the unexpected power that has been unleashed, signaling a turning point in the adults' perception of the children. The adults in the village arrive at the scene and are shocked by the devastation. One person exclaims, "It's terrible," upon seeing the mangled monster corpses. Another confirms that this is indeed the site of the previous whirlwind. The elder kneels down to examine the ground and states clearly that the whirlwind was released to destroy the wolves. The atmosphere becomes serious, reflecting the terrifying extent of the power that was just used. When asked about the current situation, Mr. Double responds thoughtfully that things don't seem simple. Despite the surface-level appearance of just a wolf monster attack, he senses a much more complicated presence lurking beneath. Meanwhile, a boy is carefree, washing clothes by the stream, seemingly unaware of the growing suspicion among the adults about the true power behind the recent whirlwind. The boy is taken aback upon hearing the name Tanya, a name he had never heard from his companion before. The girl calmly confirms, "That's my real name." The revelation leaves him stunned, and he whispers quietly, "I didn't know." A moment of silence follows, filled with emotion, as the truth about Turner's identity gradually comes to light, taking their relationship to a deeper level. Turner walks away quietly, while those around her gradually come to terms with the truth about her identity. A boy recalls, "Everyone called her Turner," but then tells himself, "I guess that's just how it is." He also reveals that his real name is Relight, though everyone calls him Ren. Amidst the hesitant atmosphere and mixed emotions, a soft call, "Hey," comes from behind, marking the beginning of a more honest conversation, when names are not just labels, but a connection between people. Ren whispered, asking Tanya to keep his magic a secret. He felt uneasy, worrying about the consequences if others discovered his special power. Tanya, with a calm expression, listened to his concerns, but didn't seem too worried. He continued to explain that no matter how he looked at it, his magic was clearly unusual, and he couldn't let anyone know. Tanya asked again if it would be a big problem if others found out. This scene evoked suspicion and worry in Ren's mind, but it was also a moment of shared tension between the two. Ren confessed his biggest fear, If the villagers discovered his special magic, the way they treated him would change. They might consider him a prodigy, but they might also see him as a frightening heretic. Worse still, he might be expelled from the village, something he absolutely wanted to avoid. Ren sighed, affirming, "Being normal is the best." In response to his sincerity and concerns, Tanya quietly replied with a simple but empathetic sentence, "I understand." A moment of deep empathy between the two gradually formed. Ren was astonished when Tanya said she understood and would keep his magic a secret. He eagerly asked, his eyes shining, "Really, really, are you sure? Absolutely sure," Tanya calmly replied, "I promise." Immediately after, he was so moved that he thanked her and received an unexpected slap on the face. The mix of seriousness and humor created a lovely, intimate moment between the two. Ren and Tanya sat next to each other, drawing a diagram on the ground to come up with a plausible reason to hide the truth about the whirlwind caused by magic. Tanya was serious. "It has to be a really good reason." Ren confidently replied, "We'll come up with a perfect story." However, before they could finalize their plan, a group of adults discovered the two children. The shout, "Found them," rang out, followed by surprised gazes and rising tension, signaling that trouble was approaching. When discovered by the adults, Ren and Tanya were immediately scolded. A stern man shouted, "The forest is not a place for kids to wander around," and asked if they knew how dangerous it was. Another woman bowed her head, apologizing on behalf of the children. The atmosphere became tense, but the important question remained unanswered. What actually happened? Putting Ren and Tanya in a position where they had to come up with a prepared explanation. When informed that the children had been found, Mr. Double approached with a serious expression. After observing them, he confirmed that although both were soaked, they didn't have any serious injuries. Ren smiled and replied, "Yes," casually, while Tanya bowed her head silently, both trying to appear normal, as if nothing significant had happened. The atmosphere temporarily eased, but Mr. Double's gaze suggested that he was still considering many things. When Mr. Double asked further, Ren quickly fabricated a story that the two were running away from a pack of wolves and unfortunately fell into the river. He skillfully added that the wolves seemed to be fighting over something, so they didn't pay attention to the two children. While Ren lied very naturally, Turner remained silent with a heavy gaze, as if struggling with her conscience. In the final scene, Ren turned to Turner, seeking confirmation, putting Turner in a difficult position. The lie had begun, and she was forced to continue playing along. Just as the atmosphere became tense due to the lie about the pack of wolves, Turner suddenly spoke up simply, "I'm hungry." The brief statement, accompanied by the rumbling sound of her stomach, dissipated the serious atmosphere. Ren looked at her with a mischievous expression, and the adults burst out laughing, feeling relieved. This final scene was like a humorous sigh of relief, closing the tense episode with Turner's charming and endearing gesture. As it started to get dark, Mr. Double ordered the group to return to the village, temporarily putting aside all questions to ensure safety. He emphasized the need to be vigilant on the way back and volunteered to go last to protect everyone. The final scene shows the group making their way towards the village gate, where the villagers were waiting, marking the end of a dramatic but safe journey. As the group just arrived at the village gate, a worried call echoed from afar. "Ren!" The boys' parents hastily ran out, their faces clearly showing fear. Ren also paused for a moment, then exclaimed, "Mom!" In an emotional moment, he rushed into his mother's arms, hugging her tightly as if to release all the fear he had experienced in the forest. This was a heartwarming moment that closed a tense journey. As soon as she hugged her son, the mother's emotions burst forth, and she immediately turned to anger. She shouted loudly, "You idiot!" and literally threw Ren backward. The outburst of anger was accompanied by words of rebuke. "Why didn't you ask the adults first? Did you sneak out of the village without permission?" Meanwhile, Ren lay sprawled on the ground, weakly sighing, "I'm sorry." The scene was both humorous and heartwarming, showing the mother's strict love and genuine concern for her son. After the outburst of anger, the mother gently hugged Ren, anxiously asking, "Were you scared? Were you hurt anywhere?" Ren shook his head but thought to himself that his mother's slap hurt more than facing the pack of wolves. Despite being scolded and hit, he still felt his mother's true love. In that moment, the mother burst into tears of relief. "It's a blessing." The scene ended with a warm hug, clearly showing the deep and touching mother-son bond after a life-threatening ordeal. After the mother's scolding, Ren's father stepped forward, gently stroking his head, and playfully scolded. "You were too naughty today." Ren looked at him, softly saying, "Dad." The father smiled kindly, advising in a loving tone, "Don't make your mother worry too much, okay, son?" The scene ended with Ren's emotional gaze, showing the warmth and deep connection within the family after the ordeal they had just gone through. Ren hugged his mother tightly, softly promising to be more careful in the future. When he opened his eyes, his gaze stopped abruptly. At the village gate, his friends Ted, Charnos, Enoch, and Massey had also returned safely. The village adults breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing the children unharmed. This reunion brought a sense of relief and emotion after the series of recent events. Turner was cared for by the village adults after the incident, but her eyes still held a contemplative air. Although Ren smiled in relief, Turner was lost in thought life in this new world, which seemed easy, turned out to be full of complications and challenges. The concluding sentence quietly closed the chapter, leaving a gentle but profound resonance about the journey of survival and integration of a lost soul in a new world. A few days after the incident in the forest, daily life gradually returned to normal. Ren's mother smiled as she handed him a basket, asking him to go shopping as usual, and the air was once again fresh and peaceful in the small village. Although Ren was still a bit tense, he responded calmly. Everything seemed as though nothing had happened, marking the beginning of a new chapter with a slow but subtle pace. The area near the village wall was still on high alert due to the appearance of the monster that had caused the whirlwind earlier. Explorers were being sent to hunt down this dangerous creature. Meanwhile, Ren, the one who had actually caused the strange phenomenon, just smiled mischievously, seemingly without any worry. He silently wished for everyone's safe return, hiding his huge secret beneath his innocent appearance. As Ren was on his way to the market, a playful little girl suddenly appeared, stretching her arms like an airplane and shouting "Vroom," which surprised him. She quickly recognized him and exclaimed happily, "I've found Ren." Other children gathered around, cheering and surrounding him as if they had discovered a treasure. Ren was teased, making him a bit flustered, but he could only react helplessly. "Stop it." The atmosphere became lively and joyful, a complete contrast to the secrets he was hiding. Ren was happily reunited with his friends after the incident when Anne suddenly exposed him in front of everyone. "You jumped over the wall." While Ren was still confused, Anne innocently reenacted the scene of him jumping over the wall, making Ren's face turn pale, thinking, "I'm in trouble," and still remembers. The initially light and warm atmosphere suddenly turned into a mix of embarrassment and humor, hinting at the special ability that Ren was trying to keep hidden. When Anne innocently retold Ren's impressive wall-jumping feat, Turner suddenly crossed her arms and denied it. Ren didn't do anything great. Surprise spread. Ren was surprised. Anne reacted strongly. "I don't need to see it to know it's amazing," although it seemed like she was defending Ren. Turner was actually trying to divert attention, protecting the secret of Ren's ability. The exchange was simple, but skillfully concealed the special thing that Ren was hiding, creating a warm and humorous atmosphere. Ren suddenly stood up, waved his hand, and asserted with a serious face, "I'm not good at anything," which left everyone stunned. Turner looked bewildered and gently countered, "Isn't that something to be confident about?" While Anne awkwardly accepted, "Not good is fine too." The humorous atmosphere continued when Turner tried to salvage the situation by saying, "Everyone is just overestimating Ren," which made Ren embarrassed and think to himself, "You don't really think that, do you, Turner?" The back and forth between keeping the secret and Ren's pride continued to bring light, yet profound, laughter to the story. Previously, a wolf monster appeared in the forest, causing terror for the villagers. Ren used wind magic to successfully repel it, but kept it a secret and only shared it with Turner. However, due to the effect of the magic creating a tornado-like phenomenon, the villagers misunderstood that a new, dangerous monster had appeared. Things started to get complicated from there. The children in the village were excited when they heard that adventurers were coming to the village to eliminate the monster. One boy was extremely excited. while the other children were curious about what the adventurers would look like and whether they would be as cool as they imagined. The whole village was buzzing with excitement about the adventurers who would eliminate the monster that created the tornado, making Anne extremely enthusiastic and admiring. However, Ren, the one who actually used wind magic to create the tornado, could only force a smile when hearing people praise the adventurers, while Turner glanced at him suspiciously, and Ren quickly looked away, thinking to himself, "Don't look this way." The group of children in the village were eagerly waiting for the adventurers and hopping to hear exciting stories from the outside world. One boy showed his excitement, saying he wanted to hear all sorts of stories, as the children rarely met strangers outside the village. Ren held his little sister and quietly observed the excitement of everyone, thinking to himself, "Everyone is curious." A boy with bangs covering his eyes calmly said that the adventurers would drop by his shop, and if he got a chance to talk to them, that would be the time. Ted revealed that the adventurers were staying at his house, but he wasn't allowed to meet them because his father forbade it. A friend asked if Ted had a chance to talk to them, but Ted explained that his father didn't want him to become an adventurer. Ren and the other friends listened attentively, and Ted sadly added that if the village elder's son became an adventurer, it would be a big problem. A girl looked out the window and excitedly reported, "They're at the shop right now." The group of young friends immediately focused their attention, their faces showing surprise and excitement. The scene shifted to a simple two-story house with a tile roof and a signboard, where a crowd had gathered, indicating that the adventurers had actually arrived and were attracting the attention of the whole village. The group of children gathered together, with Ted enthusiastically taking the lead and asking if everyone was ready. One by one, they lined up, looking nervous but also excited, and responded in unison, "Okay." However, just as Ted was about to lead the charge, he bumped into the adult in front of him and cried out, "Ouch," causing Ren and the little girl behind him to stand still, watching with a calm expression. The serious atmosphere was quickly broken by a humorous flop. The group of children finally faced one of the adventurers, a muscular, fierce-looking man with a thick beard and an intimidating aura. The light from the child shone on his massive body, creating a stark contrast. He frowned down, looking annoyed and surprised by the children's presence, muttering, "What are these kids?" The atmosphere immediately became tense as the children's initial excitement clashed with the harsh reality of the adult world. The children looked at the adventurers with suspicious and worried eyes, seeing that they looked too intimidating, unlike their imagined heroes. The group fell silent, not daring to speak up, only whispering, "Are these really adventurers?" Meanwhile, the muscular bald man frowned and asked back with a cautious tone, "Are they wanted criminals?" The atmosphere reached an awkward level between the two parties. A meeting that no one had anticipated began like this. As soon as the boy lightly touched the large warrior, he was scolded loudly. "You touched me without apologizing." The group froze, panicked by the overreaction. Ren thought to himself, he didn't even touch him that hard. Why is he making such a big deal? Doubtful looks began to appear. Are these really adventurers, or are they just thugs in disguise? Meanwhile, a woman intervened loudly, trying to ease the tense atmosphere. Do we really need to make such a big fuss? No one dared to step forward, and the atmosphere suddenly became suffocating. The woman tried to intervene, but when the large warrior growled at her, she retreated in worry, stuttering, "It's nothing." The girls around her looked at her with disappointment because she gave up too quickly. The muscular bald man continued to make a scene, holding his arm and pretending to be in pain. "Ah, it hurts. My arm is broken." Some people nearby started to feel embarrassed for them. "Are you guys bullying kids?" Meanwhile, the little girl still clutched Ren's clothes from behind, her eyes full of worry as she looked up. The atmosphere became ridiculous, but also concerning due to the clear disparity in strength. When the atmosphere was tense, Tetra suddenly pointed at the large man with an innocent face and blurted out, "Scary face," making Ren shocked and call out her name in panic. That innocent comment drew everyone's attention to the two children, and the bald man was taken aback, his eyes wide with offense. No one expected that an innocent remark could make the atmosphere so awkward and humorous. Hearing Tetra call him "scary face," the muscular man reacted violently, growling with anger, emitting an aura of intimidation that made everyone shudder. Ren panicked, pulling his little sister back while still showing a hint of fear, thinking to himself, "Of course, he's really scary." The tense atmosphere suddenly became suffocating due to a truthful comment that was too honest. Tetra was so scared that she hid behind Ren, trembling under the pant leg of her older brother. Ren wasn't much better, sweating profusely, thinking to himself, "Even an adult like me is terrified." The muscular man leaned in close to Ren with a fierce gaze, making Ren smile awkwardly and step back, thinking, "Too close." The atmosphere was so tense that even the slightest sound would make everyone jump. Ren was surrounded by the adventurers with intimidating faces, standing so close that there was hardly any space to breathe. His mind was filled with a single thought: everyone's too close. In his confusion, Ren bowed his head and apologized. "I'm very sorry." And in his own imaginary spotlight, he reminisced. Apologizing was indeed my forte in my past life. A villager hastily brought the item requested by the adventurers to ease the situation, bowing his head in apology. "Just a child's words. Please forgive us." The large man scowled as he accepted the bag of money, clicking his tongue in dissatisfaction. After receiving the item, he spoke up. "We're here to protect this village, so it's better to be careful with your words." In the tense situation, the woman tried to ease the tension by suggesting they forget about the monster, while the man wearing a hat bowed his head and pleaded, saying the village had paid enough. Young Ren secretly hoped they would leave because there wasn't actually a monster in the forest. However, the fierce leader remained angry, retorting, "At least teach the kids to respect their elders." The adventurers finally left with cold faces and a warning not to block their way. Ren tried to appear strong and calm, but his body continued to tremble. The gentle woman asked if he was okay, realizing he was scared. The people around them sighed in agreement, thinking that the adventurers were rude and excessive. The man announced that the adventurers, despite their rough appearance, were quite skilled, as they had found the monster in the forest. Ren was shocked and worried upon hearing this, as he thought there shouldn't be any monsters left in the forest. He glanced at Turner, and they both felt a sense of unease and surprise. After the adventurers left, the children sat under a tree, sharing their feelings. They were all disappointed and frightened because the people they had imagined as heroes turned out to be rude and scary. Turner drew the leader's face to vent her anger, while the other children chimed in, criticizing them as bad-tempered, detestable, and terrible. One child commented, "There are all kinds of adventurers," as if trying to reassure themselves. The atmosphere became lighter, but there was still a lingering sense of unease and disappointment. The group of children gathered under a tree and discussed their ideal adventurer prototypes. None of them wanted to become as rough as the adventurers they had just met. A little girl expressed her wish for the monsters to be eliminated soon so that the adventurers would leave the village quickly. Meanwhile, Ren began to ponder the adventurers' words, wondering if there were really wolves in the forest or if new monsters had appeared. The question about the truth behind the rumors made Ren uneasy. The next morning, Ren was surprised to see Turner wearing a dress, which was a rare occurrence. He commented that it was strange, and both of them fell into an awkward silence when facing each other. The atmosphere became quiet, as if both were embarrassed by the sudden change. Ren wondered why Turner was silent, but before he could understand what was happening, she hit him repeatedly with a wooden stick. Without explanation, Turner coldly pulled Ren along, declaring that they would investigate the adventurers together. Although Ren wasn't sure of the reason, he had to follow, thinking to himself, "To uncover the truth, Turner and I will investigate those adventurers together." Ren and Turner discussed ways to investigate the adventurers. Turner believed that the group wouldn't pay attention to children like them, while Ren suggested asking Ted's father. However, when Ren turned back, they suddenly faced the adventurers directly, who were approaching with cold faces and an overwhelming aura, leaving Turner speechless. Ren and Turner secretly watched from behind as they saw Enoch and Massey bowing their heads and begging a sly-looking man for help, promising to do anything. However, The man showed irritation and refused outright, although he commented that they were persistent. Turner recognized him as the man with the intimidating gaze from the group of adventurers, while both Ren and Turner didn't understand what was happening. Enoch and Massey loudly expressed their desire to become adventurers, urgently asking the man to take them on as disciples to be trained in strength. However, he coldly refused, telling them to take care of themselves. Ren and Turner watched from behind, secretly wondering if the two boys had lost their senses, as even Ted had never done anything as reckless as this. A strange man pointed to Zia's house and asked if anyone was living there. When Ren confirmed and provided details that it was Zia's house with 4 family members, including her parents, Zia, and her almost 1-year-old brother, the man didn't seem to care about their identities and only asked about the number of people living there, then coldly jotted something down in his notebook. When asked why he was counting the number of people in the house, the man vaguely explained that it was to prepare an evacuation route in case the monster attacked the village. Although the explanation sounded reasonable, his actions and expressions made the children suspicious, as if he was following a pre-written script. Some children began to worry if the monster was truly dangerous, while a few others followed along with a joking attitude. The man tried to describe the monster he saw, using grandiose words like huge, crazy, and very terrifying, but his description was jumbled and lacked logic. When he ended with the word floofy, the 2 children, Ren and Turner, immediately noticed the obvious contradiction and felt that the whole story sounded extremely suspicious. An elderly man was smoking when he was approached by the group of adventurers. The bearded leader reported that they had discovered the monsters and his friends were currently tracking them. The elderly man's expression turned serious upon hearing the news, indicating a significant turning point. The large adventurer attempted to initiate a conversation with the old man by complimenting him on his past reputation as an adventurer. However, the old man remained cold and skeptical, reacting ambiguously to the flattery. Both parties were cautious, and their conversation, although calm, was laced with probing. The adventurer suddenly threw a powerful punch to demonstrate his strength to the old man. He said that if it were just an ordinary monster, he would have handled it easily. However, a close-up shot showed that the old man's sword was partially drawn, indicating that he was not caught off guard or at a disadvantage. Instead, he remained calm and ready to react. The atmosphere became tense, foreshadowing a potential confrontation. The adventurer emphasized that this time, things were not as simple as before, and it was clear that the old man knew why he was there. The cold gaze of the old man in the final frame showed that he fully understood the implication behind the adventurer's words and also proved that he was not intimidated. On the contrary, he seemed to have anticipated this for a long time. The atmosphere between the two became heavy, foreshadowing that the truth was about to be revealed.